The pros and cons of soap making methods: cold process, melt and pour, hot process, and rebatch. In general, there are 4 methods to make soap: cold process, melt and pour, hot process, and rebatch. There are pros and cons for each, and every maker has a personal preference. If you're wondering which method may be the best for you, watch the video till the end. Keep in mind, what you consider a con may be a pro for someone else. Each method creates amazing handmade soap. We can all agree that's better than store-bought bars. Cold process soap. Pros. This method allows you to customize every single ingredient to suit your personal preferences. You can add fresh ingredients like milk and fruit or vegetable purees because you control the saponification process. The trace of cold process soap can be manipulated for a variety of techniques and designs. Thin trace can be used to make swirls, while thick trace creates soap frosting. With so many technique options, it's a great way to get creative. The sky's the limit. The thick texture makes it great for suspending heavier additives. It's generally considered a more natural bar of soap. Cons. It's made with sodium hydroxide lye, which can be dangerous if it's handled incorrectly. Cold process soap takes about 4 to 6 weeks to cure. The bars can be used before then, but they will be softer and won't last as long in the shower. Some colorants can morph in the high pH environment of cold process soap. Fragrance oils can react with the high pH of cold process soap in negative ways, causing acceleration, ricing, or seizing. Always make sure your fragrance behaves well in cold process. Vanilla color stabilizer is not reliable. Fragrance oils with a high vanilla content will turn the soap brown. Because cold process soap is opaque, glitter doesn't show up very well. It still looks great sprinkled on top though. Cleanup can be a long process depending on how intricate your design is. Number 2, melt and pour soap. Pros. This method is great for beginners. You can make melt and pour with children as young as 4. The base has already gone through saponification, so working with lye is not required. You don't need to wear safety gear because you're not working with lye. Melt and pour soap is quick to make, hardens in several hours, and doesn't need to cure. Fragrance oils don't cause acceleration, ricing, or seizing. Vanilla color stabilizer is an effective way to prevent browning in melt and pour. Glitter and shimmery micas really pop, especially in translucent bases such as aloe vera, honey, etc. You can create extremely clean and straight layers. Just make sure to have 99% isopropyl alcohol nearby so the layers stick together. Cleanup is easy because your dishes are coated in fully ready-to-use soap. Cons. Because melt and pour soap contains extra glycerin, it's prone to sweating. The base is not fully customizable. Because saponification has already happened, you can't choose the oils or butters that go into the soap. Fresh ingredients like milk and purees will eventually go bad in the bars. Melted soap is thin and fluid, so heavier additives can sink to the bottom. It cools and hardens quickly. That means some swirls aren't possible with melt and pour. Melt and pour soap can burn, which makes the base thick, gloopy, and difficult to work with. Number 3, hot process soap. Pros. You can customize every single ingredient, including oils. The additional heat speeds up the saponification process. 3 cheers for instant gratification. Hot process soap can be cut within 1 day and used right away. The bars have a rustic appearance and a less smooth texture than cold process. Whether you like this look is personal preference. Hot process can be made in a crock pot or double boiler. The thick texture makes it great for suspending heavier additives. It's generally considered to be a more natural bar of soap. Cleanup is easier because the leftovers in the slow cooker, crock pot are already soap. Cons. The thick texture of hot process soap makes some techniques difficult, like layering and swirls. If your fragrance or essential oil has a low flash point, some makers find the higher temperatures can burn off the fragrance, causing it to fade. As the soap cooks, it expands. Because of the possibility of overflow, it's important to not leave it unattended. It's difficult but not impossible to add fresh ingredients like milk and purees, they tend to scorch during the cooking process. Number 4. Rebatch Soap. Pros. The base has already gone through saponification, so you don't have to work with lye. That means you don't need to wear safety gear. It's great for beginners because the base is already made. Rebatch soap is a great way to save batches of soap that didn't turn out quite right. It doesn't require a 4 to 6 week cure time. We usually recommend about 1 to 2 weeks, but it can be used as soon as it's cut. The bars have a rustic appearance and a less smooth texture than cold process. Whether you like this look is personal preference. The cleanup is super simple. Cons. The soap has already saponified, so the recipe can't be customized. Fresh ingredients like milk and purees will eventually go bad in the soap. If your fragrance or essential oil has a low flash point, some makers find the higher temperatures can burn off the fragrance, causing it to fade. Due to the thick texture, swirls and layers can be tricky. So what's your favorite method?